Welcome to Miss Bizz's Guide to the Elder Scrolls Online Skill Advisor. The Skill Advisor is something that was added during Update 17, which comes out at the same time as the Dragonborn's DLC. This is geared towards mostly newer players or people maybe new to a particular class or role to have some guidance on how to create a build. The Skill Advisor is on by default. You'll also notice it with the level up reward system, but this is mainly on the Skill Advisor. Open up your skills window and you'll notice on the left hand side is the Skill Advisor. Now, every class has a couple different builds you can choose from, and it will always default to the beginner build. The beginner build is definitely not geared towards group plays such as dungeons or trials. It is more so built around overland activities that you'd be doing as a beginner. So while you're questing, doing solo delves out in the overland or stuff like that, you're going to have a little bit of damage, a little bit of tankiness, and hopefully a little bit of heals to help keep you alive while you're out soloing. Although you may not understand it at first, the Skill Advisor does do some things that I recommend in my beginner's guide to build. For example, you can actually, as soon as the beginner guide, or the initiate build starts, it is going to tell you to select one of every class ability from all your different class skill lines. This means that you will be leveling up all 3 of your class skill lines right from the beginning. So it's a really good move to start with. The Skills Advisor also has a variety of other builds that you can play with. You'll always notice there's a magicka damage roll, a stamina damage roll, a tank, which is, a tank, a healer, and, of course, the option to turn it off if you don't actually want the Skill Advisor because you're a player who knows what they're doing. You do not need to use the initiate build if that's what you want. You can just select the advisor settings and select a different build. This will tell you to start taking whatever skills the Skill Advisor suggests. You can also use this if you've already been playing the game and leveled up some. You can go just respec in the main city of a faction, and you'll notice that all the skills that the Skill Advisor suggests you take for their build have a heavy border around it. You can take these from your skill window itself, or you can click through on the Skill Advisor to actually unlock all the skills it suggests. Once you go far enough into creating your build as you level up, or maybe you're using it just partway through and spamming your way through taking everything, you'll notice that it does actually give you advised and ill-advised morphs. Now, some of these may seem a little bit weird, especially on the beginner builds, but you have to remember who it is geared towards and what you're doing. Feel free to look into these yourself, but they do suggest certain morphs. As you go along, you will also notice that the Skill Advisor does advise passives. This is really good because passives are an important part of how you play, and I don't think a lot of newer players even realize that, especially with the armor skill lines, which in some of the builds it does recommend. These are important because, for example, light armor by itself doesn't help your magicka. The reason that you use light armor as a magicka player is because of the passives. So without the passives, all you have is less resistant armor. As I mentioned, every single class has all these different builds. So if you want to be a stamina DPS Dragon Knight, you hop on your Dragon Knight and check that one out. Or, like we said, there is always the beginner builds, which are exceptional towards overland and questing because it expects that you're on your own. So you're going to need to be able to survive and do damage at the same time, but not necessarily be great at both. The Skills Advisor will suggest anything from your skills window. The Skills Advisor will not tell you where to put your attribute points, which are on your character sheet. It will tell you to spend them, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what to use them as. Keep in mind that it does tell you what the primary stat for that build is, but it doesn't mean that every single one of your points should go into it. For example, a tank might not put every point into health, but a magicka DPS probably will. So it doesn't advise you how many attribute points to put in, and it also does not advise you towards your champion points at all. Unfortunately, that is not included because, like I mentioned, This is really geared toward beginners, so if you are a new player, definitely use this, or maybe even if you've never played a class or a certain role, you might want to check it out and see what build it comes up with in order to get an idea of what you should probably use. As I mentioned, if you do not want to even see the skill advisor, because it will tell you if you took an ill-advised morph, you have the option to turn it off. If you accidentally turn off the skill advisor or just for some reason you want back, make sure to look around your screen because there will be a keybind. On PC it is T to open it back up, and then you have the skill advisor back. I'm going to show you what it looks like if you take an ill-advised morph. Now this is just what they imagine their build looks like, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad morph. Here you can see that at the bottom of the tooltip, it tells me to respec to purchase the advised morph for your build. This is really just a guideline, but if you're a newer player, you probably want to stick with the abilities they suggested because there's a reason for it. But once you get to know the game better and how to actually use these skills to the best of your ability, you might want to change some of those morphs to something they don't suggest because of your playstyle. As you can see, I mentioned there is level up rewards also available from the same update. I just took a brand new character into the tutorial and I just gained level 2 and I can claim these now. This is a little bit different from the skill advisor, but they do go quite hand in hand. Here I can claim some attribute points, which remember, if you take a look at all your different builds, it will tell you what your main stat should be. As well, as soon as you're finished doing that, it brings you to your skills window so you can spend those skill points. Remember, you can spend them right from in your skill window or right from the skill advisor window. That's my guide to the skill advisor. If you have any questions on how to use this system, please feel free to comment and ask your questions in the comments below. I will definitely try to answer them. Like I said, this is definitely geared towards beginners. Once you get to endgame, you will likely want to either learn how to create your own builds or start looking up at other people's builds on the internet for inspiration and ideas of how the game works, but it's definitely a good start for beginners. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it helps you in your Tamriel travels. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.